Also, everybody, my apologies for not being able to upload any videos for a while. I have been suffering a bit of injury, tendonitis on my hip joint, so I have been out of action for a while, and that's been slowing everything down. It was really hard even for me to walk, so taking off a lot of things takes a lot more time. Plus, it's emotionally quite exhausting. So apologies. But I thought this is my 5th week now. Tendonitis takes about 7 to 8 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks to recover, and so I'm really started to feel that it's nearly there, and so I've started to feel positive. And also, even before I got injuries, I always wanted to talk about how to manage your injuries and how to live with injuries, or how to positively experience injuries. Never fun, but you can always take it positively and learn from the experience. So let me talk about cause of injury today. Okay. Yeah, injuries are never fun because it slows everything down and just takes your ego and identity away in many ways. However, injuries, I believe, come to us because they want to tell us something. It's just telling me, particularly in my case, I have to really learn about a lot of things, which I'll talk about later. But every time I experience injuries, minor to major, I try to tune in physically and mentally so that I can learn from the experience. Now, let's talk about cause of injury today. Well, what causes the injury? In my point of view, it's lack of recovery. You strain something and it doesn't recover in time of the time that you want to perform next. First, it comes from lack of experience. So if you are not really exposed to certain activities, and if you do something and you just over-exaggerate it, or lack of, understanding or poor techniques, that can cause injuries. But that's kind of simple, that all you need is a good advisor. Okay, it's annoying, you have to wait for it, but it's a great opportunity to learn to execute techniques better in the future. It may take you down for a while, but definitely it's a great opportunity to find a good coach, supervisor, other people who experience the same, so you can learn about this. Second, this is more for experienced people. Overtraining, or not necessarily only experienced people, but who has started to get really into karate, and then they're just so excited, or grading coming soon, or this is the first competition, or important world championships coming up. This is the first time I'm entering European Championship, or whatever it is. Then you just train, or you really love it and you've been just training hard and thought that could go somewhere, but then bong, you went over your limit. Well, first, lack of experience. You just didn't know your limit, and that's a great opportunity for you to learn your limit. And also not knowing, if you're not that experienced, the bad pain and good pain. There are good pains like muscular aches, a bit of bruise. It doesn't really hurt unless it happens at the wrong spot. Sometimes if you get internal bleeding, like things like elbow or knee joints, ankle, where the blood can swell up, and then that just stops your mobility. If it's around here, just a beautiful bruises that makes you look bit cool, but if it is in that kind of mobile area, it can swell up, and it takes ages for the blood to go away. So you will learn very quickly that you should have dealt with it very quickly, iced it, and some Chinese doctors actually take the blood out for you, the fluid out from your bodies. Anti-inflammatory medicine, etc. I think everyone has a different method to heal those inflammation. But anyway, there are good pains and bad pains, and often it takes experience to learn what bad pains are. Another important thing about overtraining is desperation. We train because we're desperate, particularly when you are close to 30, 35, 40, 50, 60, that kind of age-changing category, or for competitors, for example, you want to try your best just before you get into next category. I can totally relate to that. I really, really, really wanted to do well before I turned 40. I started karate when I was just before turning 20, so it's not very early. It's quite late for the person who who compete in a world standard. But and I only started to compete when I was 28. So I started to just get enough experience to be able to compete at the world level in a sort of more confident manner in late 30s, which is pretty late, and I wanted to make it there, but I was way too desperate. I also, in 30s your body changes. Everybody's body change, but at any age. But for male in like late 20s, they get suddenly bulkier and heavier. People who used to be lean gets really strong but quite heavy, so they experience difficulties to accept their speed is gone, but they have to execute body differently to get speed again. For women, their body changes rapidly if they give birth. Their hormone changes at menopause time, etc. But anyway, everybody goes through quite a massive change in 30s. Stamina changes, figure changes, etc. And it's very hard to accept if you have been competing regularly. And then, same thing happens when you turn 50, 60, etc. A little bit of denial, or also fear of not knowing what's going to come next. Just changes always, although you have seen in your senpais or families or etc. Everybody goes through differently, and a generation above aged quite differently to current generation as well. And also the competition opened for 40s and 50s and 60s competitors, not in the older generation time, but it's open now, etc. So we get a bit desperate because we just want to push hard and try our best. Trying best is a really good part, but push hard beyond physical limit. We have to accept our change, and we have to challenge ourselves in a different way. But that's a discovery, and if you haven't discovered the new pattern for your body which works, you have to experience, unfortunately, shit. Unfortunately. So, and that is the primal time of injury is those change of age time. It is kind of funny because when I competed, I think it was 38 or just 37. So that was my last world championship that I could enter before turning 40. So it was open. I have to compete against late teenagers and early 20s people at the same time. But I wanted to win. I wanted to do well. But I wanted to do well. Almost like I thought that was just like end of my life if I don't. And that was just too much. I trained way too much for my age in a wrong manner. So I failed miserably. When I turned 40, that's the time I won a world championship. I nearly gave up in late 30s. Just a lot of things happened. Financial as well as relationship broke down, etc. So I kind of gave up. Then when I turned 40, suddenly I thought I would just give it a go. I think I can do it. I got over probably the hardest life experience, and I perhaps it's a time to try differently. And then a lot of things came to me as a favor. Yeah, friends supported me, family supported me, and then I could really do a very satisfying competition. It's not, regardless of the result, I think that experience was very positive. So one of my friends who turned 65 lately, she put on her Facebook, says, I want to age disgracefully. Sometimes that is a great attitude to have. Yes, it's encouraged, and I like to age gracefully, but sometimes trying too hard to age gracefully actually do opposite to you. So I just gotta do disgraceful things. Just that kind of easy attitude perhaps take the desperation away. First is to acknowledge that you are desperate. And then everyone's different, but I think I was denying the fact that I was desperate in late 30s, or I was desperate but I didn't know otherwise, and yeah, that really puts you to overwork. Another thing is a third, mental fatigue. That's exactly the reason why I suffered this injury this time. I had a massive family issue, and that just put me to insomnia. It could be, other people suffer things like financial stress, could be work responsibility. Whatever it is that puts you to insomnia, you cannot recover from any activities you do, and then leads you to whatever injury. Can be physical, can be mental. It just leads you to whole down experience. So you have to basically deal with that, and that's why I really couldn't make videos, because I was dealing with my problem. Anyway, and then finally what I can think of is the fourth, lack of nutrient. Usually all those things are mixed up, because when you have mental fatigue, you start to not eat properly or can't cook with joy, and then you start eating bad food, or I was overeating. So your gut basically is not in a good condition, and everything goes downhill from there. You don't sleep very well, also you don't get enough nutrient absorbed enough to repair your cells and muscles that get teared each time you train hard. And so these things, all of that will give you time to monitor your life and lifestyle. If you don't have if you're really lacking in nutrients, okay, you have to look at your diet, sleep pattern, life pattern. Am I getting enough protein and carb and vitamins for the activities I do or you do? And it's time to sit down and really know who you are, what you do, and what's needed, so that you can continue the activities you love. Anyway, my view of best cure for injury is sleep. The sleep basically is the time to recover anything that you suffer, whether heartbreak or physical injuries. But if you can't sleep, that is the hardest thing. Your digestion suffer, and if you're not eating properly, and because of the stress, it just swell up and you don't sleep, although you might be lying down all day, but you're still not sleeping very well. And also I tend to just sort of, it's an escape mechanism, I suppose. Some people just watch telly every day, all the time, or, in my case, it's hard to switch off phones or computers. Then, all this electric device keeps you awake. It just, you don't get good sleep. Anyway, so those are something for you to think about. And next week, I would like to go a little bit deeper about how to manage the withdrawal symptoms when you suffer injuries. Because I do teach a lot of students who are mature age, and then when they suffer injuries, sometimes it dismotivates them. Then they blame on their age, and that's the worst thing as a teacher, is to lose students because of injuries, and they just say, oh, I'm too old for this. It's not that. It's just how to manage the withdrawal symptoms from what you've been doing. It is hard, but you're not alone there, so let's discuss about it.